Hi. So, today is the midterm oral test, and I am recording questions 1 through 5. The first question that we're looking at is number 1, and this discusses historical events that we feel have been affected by organizational psychology. One of the personal historical events that I found was very useful was the historical story of Karl Marx. Karl Marx was very influential in organizational psychology for many different reasons, but the one reason that I found was important during this time was how he wrote a book. The book that I'm talking about is Des Capital, and this was written in 1867. This book was important for many different reasons, but one of the reasons was because the way that he described industrial capitalism and how many of the employees became isolated under this system. Because of this, capitalism was misusing employees, and this was the result of everybody during this time becoming isolated under the system. It was very important for Karl Marx at this time to write about this because many of the employees were being misused and they were being treated wrongly. Karl Marx was very influential in organizational psychology for other reasons as well, but one of the reasons that I'm going to point out is his emphasis on the needs of employees as opposed to management. He liked to talk a lot about employees and how they were important and how they should be treated fairly instead of being treated like they're not as important as management, so to speak. He made this point that organizational psychology is worker focused, and this means that employees are not viewed as a means of production. The way that I look at this is that he's trying to say that employees are personable and they're humans and they should be treated as if they are instead of looking like they're a piece of property and that all that they are doing is making the company money. I find this very important as well as in that time as well as today because many people get confused and find that employees are, misused and mistreated, and this dates all the way back to the 1800s. So it's kind of crazy how even back then people viewed employees as differently than what they should. With that being said, organizational psychology then developed as a reaction to this point of view because of Karl Marx. Question number 2 talks about socialization. Socialization is a process where a person makes a transition from outsider to organizational member. This process is not a short-term process that is done over a couple of days and then it's over with. It's more of a long-term process. Socialization can be looked at in very many different ways, but today we're going to look at it through a few different examples. The first way that we're going to look at it is that it allows people to learn how to be successful members within the organization. So take, for example, Liberty University and how we all are in a graduate program. The first part of this process is for us to understand the graduate program and its history behind it. So, for example, we need to learn the history behind Liberty University and behind the master's program and why they allow us to take it online and all the different historical aspects about it so that we can actually understand what we're doing. The next part is that we're going to learn how each other communicate. This is very important for us because grad students within the program can learn different things about different people, and many of us probably use different terms and different psychological terms which all of us understand, and people from the outside may not understand this. So it's important that we communicate and that we learn different languages, and we work together on this communication because communication is key, especially in a socializational process. The next point that we're going to look at is the rules within Liberty. Every part of the socialization process has rules, just like Liberty University. Liberty University has rules that we all can follow and that we should follow and that we have to follow, and these rules can allow us to work together. Not only is it important for us to follow these rules because it's what we should do, but because these rules can help us, become better in the future, and rules are always something that we have to follow. The next part that we're going to look at is the fourth part of this process, and this is the process where learning who everyone is amongst us. This is very important in the Liberty University online program as well, because there's many other people that are taking this course, not just me. So we can also communicate with each other and form relationships, and maybe that we're not in a classroom, but we can email people, and we can talk on the blog and the discussion board, and we can learn different things about different people. And communication helps us in the long run, because with this relationship that we form, maybe someone can help us when we have a question, or maybe we can gain a friend down the road, which will benefit everybody in the long run. The next step that is important is that we look at the different the goals amongst the process. This is also important because not only are we taking this class, but when we first sign into the class and we look at the rubric and we look at everything that we need and the course material and all that, we should overview everything, and then we should tell ourselves that we have a set goal that we're trying to reach. It's important in the socialization process that we meet these goals. The last part that we're going to look at is performance proficiency. It is very important that we all find our role within the program and complete each task as it should be to remain in the program. Therefore, if these steps are followed, then the program will succeed in socialization amongst new people. So the next question that we're going to discuss today is work and family conflict. Organizations can play a major role in this work and family conflict, and I think that this is very important because a lot of people do not understand that work is work, but family is also family, and people are taking too much time at work and forgetting about their family. So it's important that we try to find ways to maybe break this habit and make sure that we're doing work when we need to do work, and that we're spending time with family when we need to spend time with family. With that being said, this can be an issue when it comes to the job that we have that doesn't allow us to be able to spend the time that we want to spend with our family. So it's good that organizations can play a part in this and play a role, and they can do this in many different ways, but the few ways that I'm going to talk about today is how they can inherit many jobs by instituting policies and benefits to the employees so that they can seek this balance between work and family. This can be done by redesigning the job to fit the employee's needs. So organizations that do this tend to call this family friendly. So these jobs are family friendly in allowing different benefits and different things, amongst the job and the family. One of the benefits that you could see in a family-friendly organization is that the children, their children or are benefited. They offer benefits to your children. Another way that you can see this is that maybe both parents work at the job, but each parent works at a part-time position, and because they both work at a part-time position, they offer full-time benefits to the family because of this. Both of these are very good examples of how you can balance work and family, and it's also very, very important to the family when an organization can be family friendly, because this means a lot to them. Another option is workplaces who give maybe maternity leave for somebody who just gave birth to a child. This is very important because a family needs to spend time together, especially when they're bringing a new child into the world. And giving that mother 6 weeks with that child does mean a lot. So, this is also another example that could be really good for work and family conflict and family friendly organizations. Another problem that we can fix with a family friendly environment is allowing the person to miss work when they are experiencing a family issue. So maybe not within their self, but maybe their husband or their child or a close family member is going through a tough time and they may need you there with them. Um, it's really good when your job can understand that and allow you to go and spend that time that you need with your family. Um, all these are great ways for people to break up their work and spend time with their family. And I think that by doing this, people will understand that work is not always such a bad place and that spending time with family is very important and it's very possible to do all at the same time. Imagine that you have been asked to develop a performance assessment program for employee development. What techniques could you use to adequately evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible? So, the first thing that we're going to look at with this question is how it's important to notate what productive behavior looks like. Productive behavior is when a person can contribute positively to the organization no matter what and in all aspects. If somebody can do this, then I think that they have the right attitude towards a positive job performance. The next thing is that we evaluate the effectiveness of the job. Meaning, once I looked at the job performance, I see how effective they are within the job and if they're able to perform the job, what results would I get from this person and would they be worth it or not? The next thing that we're going to look at is productivity. This is focusing more on like the costs of the company and how this person is achieving different things and if they're utilizing the skills and the tools that are already here and allowing us to know that the person can perform this job productively. The next part that we're going to look at is if they are efficient and if they are, then the overall performance of all these things is basically the utility of the person. So the utility of the person makes up everything that we just talked about. If they're productive enough, if they're effective enough, if they're able to perform their job, task overall well, then they fit the utility part and they're good at their job, then that means that they should be doing this job. Another way that you can look at this is in a different light. This could be looked at through task-oriented behaviors. So seeing how a person is reasonable in the supervisor job, meaning I could look at the interpersonally oriented behaviors and watch the person within the specific job title and assess whether they are good at what they do, such as if you can take, for example, a nurse and a doctor. If a nurse is trying to talk to a doctor about the type of medication that the patient needs, does she make sense? Does she know what she's talking about? Does the doctor know what she's talking about? And does she get the message across like she should? All these things are very important when it comes to job performance because the bottom line is we don't want to have somebody working at a job and not know what they're doing. It's not always just about can this person do it, it's how efficient is the person at this job and is this person very productive and is this person completing this task in a timely manner when within the time that is given. It's very important that when you look at the downtime behaviors of the workers, like, for example, what they do when they're not at work. To make sure that maybe they're not on drugs, maybe they don't have alcohol problems. Um, do they work at different jobs, like multiple jobs, and is this going to be a deterring factor to the current job that they have, um, because they're maybe too tired because they work too many jobs. Another thing that you can look at is the destructive behaviors. This is also very important because if there's going to be maybe safety violations, or if they feel that this person could harm somebody like within the job, and this could also lead to being terminated from the job. But if the person is um, if somebody is scared of the person, or the person is causing problems due to being too violent, then the company can look at this and realize that the job performance of this person is not successful. All of these things could make for an adequate evaluation of an employee performance, and I find it key that each job should run a job performance on a person, because this tells whether the person is fit for the job or not. The next question, and the last question that we're going to talk about today, is the constraints on a workplace and what can happen if these constraints aren't taken care of. A constraint is looked at as like a type of limitation, and these limitations that people face may cause problems in the workplace. One of the common constraints that you could see is maybe the size of the office. Maybe it's too small. If the person is not able to, have enough space within their office to do all their work, this could become a problem. Another thing could be that you're maybe trying to do a project and it costs a certain amount of money, and your organization that you work for doesn't have the funds that you need in order to complete this project. This is a constraint that could cause a problem amongst the workplace, and this could lead to counterproductive behaviors. This is a more general way of saying, if someone lives an hour away from the workplace and they have a tendency of being late all the time, this is an example of a counterproductive behavior. Another thing that could be a problem is that if someone, is not just late all the time, but maybe someone has an attitude with customers, and this can lead to customers no longer going to, say, the doctor's office that you work at. This could also be a problem, because then the company is losing money and nobody wants that to happen. So it is important that people do what they can to avoid these kinds of behaviors to save the company and, to better yourself. You never want to have limitations and constraints that affect how you work and where you work. So it's very important that you keep in mind of all these little issues that could become major issues. So like I said, being late all the time may not seem like something that's very big, but to a company, when it's happening over and over again, the person may get in trouble, just because being late may not always be an excuse, and it's important for the company to be able to keep everybody in line and keep everything the same. So you can't just allow someone to be late, all the time. So that's very important when it comes to a company as well.